I never imagined I could feel trapped within the four walls of my own home. My name is Lena, and I'm 28 years old. I live in a small suburban apartment in a town just outside Chicago. Lately, my life has turned into a shadow of what I thought it would be. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm still the same person I once was, or maybe I was never truly me in the first place. Not that long ago, I was ecstatic about the future. I had a stable job as a graphic designer and an engagement to Jake, a guy I thought loved me more than anything else. I spent countless hours planning our wedding, imagining how it would feel to finally start my life with him. The dress, the venue, the first dance. It all felt so perfect, so blissful. But as those plans started to take shape, I began to notice the fraying edges of my relationship with my family, particularly my mother. Mom always had this idealized version of my life she wanted me to live. She was the quintessential hovering parent, trying to arrange everything in my life down to the minutiae. What color I should paint my living room, how I should style my hair, even the way I should smile for family photos. And I always indulged her because I loved her and didn't want to disappoint her. But that love was conditional, layered with expectations of perfection. 3 months before the wedding, everything shifted. I remember having dinner with Mom one evening when she casually mentioned, "You don't want to make things complicated for us, right? If you and Jake push the wedding until next year, it gives you more time to plan and helps me keep everything nice, complicated." Those words echoed in my mind long after dinner. I had already tried to set the date for our ceremony, and yet here she was, throwing another wrench in my plans just to keep things within her control. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, my heart weighted by disappointment and confusion. All I wanted was to feel like my life was truly mine. Jake wasn't blind to the struggles I faced with my family but seemed to brush them off. "They're just trying to look out for you. Family cares about you, Lena," he assured me one late night over takeout. I wanted to scream, but instead I simply nodded, pretending everything was fine as I bit into my dumpling, tears brimming in the corners of my eyes. Then came the day of my bridal shower. The anticipation was overwhelming. My mom had organized every detail. I hadn't had any say in it. I dressed in a pretty pastel floral dress Mom insisted I wear, which felt more like a costume than something I would choose for myself. As I stepped into the room filled with laughter and chatter, the weight of expectations settled over me like a heavy cloak. That was when I first caught sight of the family photo display Mom had put together. What should have been a beautiful representation of my life morphed into a reminder of all the choices she had made for me. There was a picture of me sitting on the swings as a child, wearing what I now recognized as an outfit handpicked by her. Unbidden, the memories returned. Her insistence on the pink tulle skirt I detested but wore without question because I didn't want to disappoint her, just like I didn't want to disappoint her now in front of all our relatives. As guests oohed and awed at the photos, I faked a smile, but inside I felt suffocated. All I wanted was a moment to gather my thoughts and breathe. I moved to the balcony for some fresh air, the laughter growing fainter as I stepped outside. It was there I saw Jake on the opposite end of the patio, engaged in conversation with my cousin Erica. They looked so comfortable together, and for a second I felt a pang of jealousy. Not the kind that comes from love, but from another layer of insecurity sewn tightly within me. Everyone just seemed to fit in perfectly, everyone except me. The loneliness enveloped me like a thick fog, washing over the small moments of happiness I once held dear. This ongoing tug-of-war between my desires and my family's expectations began crushing my spirit. I had never felt more lost. The end of the bridal shower came, and it was a disaster in my heart. I didn't want to open gifts that had been handmade because it would remind me how much I owed everyone. But when we got home, the inevitable happened. Mom asked if I liked everything. "Of course I did, thank you," I said, but something in my voice felt hollow. I stared at the pile of gifts, wrapped in colorful paper that felt more like bindings than presents. I still didn't have the courage to confront her about how trapped I felt. Then one night, after a long and exhaustive week at work, I returned home to find Jake sitting on the couch, furrowed brow and a serious expression on his face. I sat next to him, sensing the weight of something heavy in the air. "Lena, I think we need to talk," he started as the knot in my stomach tightened. I braced myself for bad news. His words came out slow, careful, like he was walking on eggshells. "I feel like you're not yourself lately. I'm worried about you." "What do you mean?" I snapped defensively. He took a deep breath, studying me like he was searching for a puzzle piece he couldn't find. You've been so distant. It feels like you're doing things for everyone else instead of focusing on what you want. How could he see through me? How could he see the cords entwining around my heart, squeezing tighter every moment I felt forced to live someone else's life? But before all that could spill out, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was my mother. I hesitated but ultimately chose to answer, again leaving Jake behind without so much as a word. "Lena," Mom's voice shrieked through the phone, "I just heard from Aunt Carol about the wedding. She says you added more guests who aren't even family. What were you thinking?" I blinked, stunned into silence. How was she even aware of this? I swallowed down the hurt, the anger bubbling beneath my skin. This time I wouldn't let it fester. "Mom, I'm not planning a wedding for you. This is my day." Her words rushed back like a cold wind. "You might think that, but we'll have to pay for all those extra guests. Just think about it for a moment." I hung up abruptly and turned back to Jake, who was watching me like I was a stranger. Something flickered in his eyes, a moment of sympathy for the chaos my life had become. "This isn't how it's supposed to be, Jake." "What do you mean?" "I don't want to push everything away every time my family calls. But every decision seems to revolve around them, not me. I don't even know how to stand up to them. It terrifies me." Jake looked away, searching for the right words. "You deserve to feel like you have agency, too. I'm here for you, Lena, but you have to make some choices. You're running in circles." I feel so lost, and I don't know how to express it. The tears broke, spilling down my cheeks, washing away some part of the numbness I had endured. "I love you, but I can't keep pretending everything is okay when I feel so trapped." Right then, I felt an urge surge through me. I needed to reclaim not just my relationship with Jake, but my life entirely. It was time to step out of the shadows, time to take charge of who I was meant to be. The following morning, I had a revelation while scrolling through memories on social media. I had posted a picture of me standing in front of an expansive forest trail 2 years back, captioned, "Adventure awaits!" The old me beamed with anticipation, with free-spirited energy. That girl felt so far away but simultaneously ignited a spark deep within me. Courage blossomed. I reached out to my mom and suggested we meet at a coffee shop instead of at home. She was taken aback, but I insisted. I felt as though every moment leading up to this had been a buildup of the storm that was finally ready to break free. The moment we sat down, my palms were clammy, but I pushed through the discomfort. "Mom, I want to talk about the wedding arrangements and what we can do differently." "Different?" The disbelief in her voice made me cringe, but I pressed on. "I felt overwhelmed with the way it's currently planned. I want to make choices that reflect who I am, not just who I should be in your eyes." Her expression flickered like a candle in the wind, but she remained silent. And for a moment, I realized that silence could be our ally in that conversation. So I continued, sharing the feelings I had stashed away like dirty laundry. I told her how I appreciated everything she did, but that I wanted to carve out my path. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. My heart thudded in my chest, but I spoke from my truth. "Mom, I love you. I don't want our relationship to hinge on my choices for your expectations." I looked deep into her eyes, gauging her reaction. Would she accept my truth or shut me down? For a heartbeat, her walls crumbled, and I saw her vulnerability spill out like a broken dam. "Lena, Her voice trembled, but she stopped. Maybe she was searching for words. It took me by surprise and made me realize even parents are capable of feeling scared, especially when they're pushed to the edges. "I hear you, but it's hard for me to let go," she finally said, almost as if she was awakening to a new possibility. That moment created a shift, a bridge of understanding spanning the chasm I thought could never be crossed. I squeezed her hand, and for the first time it didn't feel like a formality, but a connection. As the weeks went by, I started making choices for my wedding that reflected my spirit and desires. The color palette shifted from pastel hues to vibrant reds and golds, the colors of love and passion. I chose my bridesmaids based on the friendships that felt meaningful, and I even decided to write a letter to myself to read on my wedding day, capturing where I was now and where I wanted to go. When the day of the wedding arrived, it was a beautiful blend of family and celebration, one that felt authentically mine. I stood there in my gown, surrounded by love and joy, but more importantly, I stood in my truth. Jake found me before he walked down the aisle, and I could see the reflection of something deep in his eyes. "You look amazing, Lena. I'm so proud of you." His words settled gently in my heart, and in that moment I knew I was free. As I stood at the altar, listening to the music fill the air, I felt alive for the first time in years. When I said, "I do," I promised to cherish not just Jake, but also the woman I had become, a woman who took ownership of her life, who learned to fight for her choices and values. 2 years later, I still remember that pivotal moment in the coffee shop. My relationship with Mom has grown stronger, founded now on mutual respect instead of expectations. We talk openly, and I see more and more that she's learning to step back and allow me to flourish. I realized that I needed to bear the weight of my truth, not only for me, but for her too. That it was never about losing love, but about building a relationship founded on understanding. If you're feeling boxed in by expectations, remember that your life belongs to you. There's power in freeing yourself from the shackles of others' desires. It takes courage, but finding your voice could be the first step toward a future brimming with possibility. And now I find joy in knowing the life I build is mine to shape, without apology, without restraint. That's the greatest gift I've ever received. Thank you for joining me in my journey. What about you? Have you ever struggled with expectations from those you love? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartfelt tales of transformation.